we might have used those guys to get Sale, but I don't see Kopech panning out literally at all at this point. I think Moncada pans out, but I don't think he turns into a 30-30 100 guy. I don't know about you. And Sale, we can keep Sale for sure. Just losing Porcello, which, yeah, losing Porcello would stink, but I'd rather give Sale $30 million a year than keep Porcello at $15 million.
And Sale will be like 31, 32, so it could be like a 5-year deal. And
yeah, we could give him 5 years, $30 million a year, and call it a day. He's been well worth it. He's been, in the past 5 years, probably the best pitcher in the American League year in, year out, him and Kluber, I'd probably say.
I mean, if you look at Porcello, I don't know if you guys know this, but he has the most wins for a guy under the age of 30. He has 270. He has more wins than Bumgarner.
Yeah, he has a ton of wins, but I don't look at wins and losses as a stat anymore. I literally just put it away.
Well, I just think it's interesting, though, that you look at a guy like Porcello who, people always, and I get that he's been very inconsistent during his major league career because he came up with Detroit at 20 years old. But he's been durable. I'm not saying that you should resign him, but at the same time, I mean, I think I saw something where like every even year he's pitched well.
Yeah, it's every
18, 16, 14.
Yeah. From 14, 16, and 18 he's been great, and then 15, 17
not good.
Were awful. and 13 was bad too. Yeah, I like Porcello. I'm a big Porcello guy. He, for some reason, is one of those guys. He's the Tim Wakefield of this era, where he goes on the mound and the team scored 19,000 runs for him. I don't know why. It just so happens to that. That's one of the reasons why he has so many wins, as well as playing on a really good Detroit team when he was there. So I would love to get him back. He's only 29 years old. I mean, he's got another 5-6 years of really good pitching under his belt, most likely.
He could.
It just comes down to what do you do? What does he want for money? Like, he makes $21 million now a year. Is he worth more than $21 million next contract?
No.
That's what it comes down to. I don't think he is. I would give him the same deal he did again. If at 31 years old you want to give him 4 for 82, not awful. He'll be your number 2 or 3. And like you said, every other year he's been pitching well. We'll see next year. Next year will be really interesting. It's an odd year. He'll be coming off, unless he implodes, another good year, and he's also contract year. So it's one of those things where usually players play better in a contract year. He's 30 years old, so he's in his prime. He knows his body by now. He knows his inning limit. He knows how to work himself, and he's going to be UFA. Does he show up or not? If he shows up, I think you pay him another 4 years. If he doesn't show up, that's when you can try and talk to him and say, listen, Rick, you can go somewhere and get 3 or 4 years on a shitty team. You can stay here for 2 for 40 and be pretty comfortable. It's up to you.
Here's the thing, though. You look at a team like Houston, okay? They're going to be losing Verlander. They're losing Keuchel this year. They're losing Verlander and Cole next year. Morton is a free agent next year. And a team like the Astros could very well find and unlock something in Porcello like they did with Charlie Morton, and you can find yourself 2.0.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the only scary part. If you let him go, and then he signs with Houston.
That's really scary.
Their pitching staff, I mean, their off the field, out of camera review staff in Houston is unbelievable. To the point where people went to federal prison for their scouting reports.
They have the best team in baseball.
They are. And then they have these pitching coaches and these coaches that are just behind the scenes that unlock. Verlander was done. He was done a couple of years ago. Like, I was doing fantasy drafts saying, pass on this dude. He's over the hill. He's going to be hurt. He's been hurt the past couple of years on and off. His attitude's been He's kind of just obsessed with Kate Upton. Just move on from this dude. Garrett Cole was always like, all right, when's this guy going to be an ace? When is this guy going to be an ace? Could never figure it out. They go to Houston, and they turn into two of the best pitchers in the league. And not that Verlander turned into anything, but he returned to form. And Cole turned into that. So it is crazy. And that would be wild to go and to get something like that. And they would, too, which is the crazy part. Keuchel and Morton are the two guys. Morton has, I think this is his career year. I think it is, right? He's 34 years old. He's not going to get a huge contract. I think he ends up staying. But I think they lose Keuchel, though. I don't know where he goes. Maybe somewhere like the Brewers, who aren't afraid to give a little money right now. He'd be a great fit there.
I don't think Keuchel's coming back. I mean, I think they have the luxury of just not having to sign him for whatever he gets. He's kind of been up and down all year as well. So it's interesting though what you say about Porcello though, especially with his durability, because I saw a stat with John Lester, where I think literally every major league season he's ever played, 11 seasons or so, he's pitched 31 games or more every time. So that's about as durable as it gets. And Porcello, I think he had somewhat of a phantom injury a couple of years ago, or the year,
the tricep or whatever it was in his first year here.
Yeah, 2015. So I still consider him to be very durable, and maybe this coming October really, has the most to say about what his future will be. I mean, if he becomes John Lackey and has a good run through the postseason, then then maybe we do. Maybe some other teams go crazy on Chris Sale, and we just stay off of him in free agency. And also consider this: I expect the Yankees to be good for the next several years. Who's to say the Red Sox don't get off to a terrible start next season and then have a fire sale in July with certain players, to boost up the farm system? That thought is so foreign to so many Red Sox fans, but I don't think anybody thought we'd be shipping off Lester, Lackey, and Gomes like 6 months after winning a World Series in 2013.
No, we wouldn't trade to the Yankees, though. So I would hope.
No, not to the Yankees, but I'm just saying, we could sell some of these guys off and then go in a completely different direction is all. We gave the Yankees Steven Drew. I don't think
we did do that one time.
Yeah.
So with the Yankees coming into town, obviously, well, we're going to town. We're going to the Bronx. I'm looking at their roster. I'm looking at their rotation and everything like that. And here's the thing, Chris. I've been talking to a few Yankees fans here and there, and everyone says how great the lineup is and how they mash and everything like that. But I almost don't mind a playoff series in New York as much as I used to, because the crowd is not the same as it used to be. You were complaining about Yankee fans the other day in one of your tweets. It made me laugh out loud when you were talking about Gary.
Oh, I was.
And stuff. It was great. But they're at this point they're pink hat fans. They'll show up. Last year, beginning of the year, you couldn't fill Yankee Stadium, and now they're here, and yes, they're loud and all that fun stuff. But it's not the same type of crowd that it was, and the ballpark plays so small. Well, it is so small, and I think that what people kind of forget is that Judge and Stanton and all these guys mash and Sanchez, but you look at your last couple of years in the playoffs, and you should have lost the wild card game against Minnesota after Severino imploded in the first inning and 3 runs in the first. And then you guys got beat by 3 solo shots against Houston in a wild card game. It works both ways, and I think Yankee fans kind of forget that other teams get to hit out of a short ballpark as well.
Well, I'll give it to you this way. The wild card game, prime example, should they have lost? Could they have lost? Yes. But here's the thing, though. That crowd, when Didi hit that home run, went nuts. And they were as loud, and I was not at the stadium, but from what I heard from people that I talked to, it was as loud as it ever has been there in that stadium since it was built. And we're talking since 2009. So I think when you look at it, yes, are Yankee fans fickle? Yes. Are they nuts? Yes. Do they want to trade Sanchez for Blake Snell? Yeah, and they're fucking stupid. They have no idea what the hell they're talking about.
That would be such a bad trade.
It would be, and it's as dumb to even to fathom. But to go back to your point, I'm telling you right now, you do not want to play the Yankees at Yankee Stadium, because I'm telling you right now, if Houston has to play the Yankees in New York, they are going to lose, because for some odd reason, the Yankee fans have embraced the young kids, especially guys like Torres and Andujar. You could just go down the line. Judge, who's having another great year. So this is a team that is very scary. And I get the lineup has a lot of strikeouts. I'm not a fan of it. But what helps the balance of the lineup is the fact that And I think this is what sets apart their lineup compared to the Red Sox. You could say that they have speed, they have power, which they do. They have more speed than the Yankees, and you can question, the power is more so on the Yankee side, but JD Martinez kinds of balances it. Between him and Mookie can balance it out. But it's the bottom of the order. It's Andujar, it's Torres. Those guys are the table setters that go back up to the top and give Judge and Gardner guys on base. And that's what sets them apart compared to everyone else. That's what makes them scary.
Yeah, your lineup is better. I would argue that the top 6 Red Sox lineup is better than your top 6, but your whole lineup is better because of those guys at the bottom. Old Yankee Stadium, House of Horrors for the Sox, even after 04. Obviously, 04 kind of twisted that, but still, we had tough games there afterwards. And I just rather, honestly, at this point, with the attitude of the team, I'd rather go into New York than Houston, where Houston just owns the Red Sox. Cleveland owns the Red Sox. The Yankees and Sox are 500 basically in the past, 1,000 years at this point. And I feel as though we just have a better shot of stealing one when we shouldn't have against the Yankees, which sounds crazy, just because if you roll out Severino, who's, should win Cy Young this year, I think, Severino, Sonny Gray, who 5 ERA this year, and CeCe against, Chris Sale, David Price, and Porcello. Yeah, they've had their postseason struggles, but, so has Severino, so has Sonny Gray. Well, Sonny Gray's never really been in the postseason. And CeCe's been good the last 2 years. But I don't know. I'd rather face the Yankees right now than Houston or Cleveland just because of the track record of recent memory, which I think plays a role. I think track record like that. I'm a Patriot fan. I never, ever, 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 ever want to play the New York Giants in the playoffs. I don't care if they're 1-15 and they get in off a technicality. I don't want to play them. I think that matchups like that exist, and right now the Red Sox are playing better against the Yankees than they do against Cleveland and Houston.
I agree a little bit with Chris in terms of the playoff atmosphere. I mean, it seemed like it was a little bit of a circus, but here's another thing, though, that needs to be considered. That's a very lefty-friendly ballpark, and, Benintendi mashes to that side. JD Martinez, even though he's a righty, is an opposite field hitter, so I think Yankee Stadium plays well to him. Devers, pretty powerful lefty. Mitch Moreland as well. If he's hot, that's a park he's going to rake in. So I wouldn't freak out if the Red Sox were to play, 2 out of 5 games there, or 3 out of 5, what have you. But I would love to have Red Sox Yankees baseball in the month of October. And
that'd be so great.
I'm just trying to think, though, Houston, who's going to be the number 1 seed? Is it going to be Houston?
Yes.
Okay. So that means... Yes,
I agree as well.
Yeah, so the Yankees would have to be a wild card team. And I'll say this right now. If... I'd pick the Yankees to win the division right now because I feel like their lineup is as good, maybe if not better. The bullpen is definitely better, and they have the best assets to make a big splash at the trade deadline. So I feel like they're going to improve the most. And I could be wrong. I mean, there's always intangibles and things can be funky and play out a certain way or whatnot, but I really feel like the Yankees have the edge as far as the division goes, so that would put the Red Sox in a wild card game, probably against the Mariners, which doesn't really freak me out.
I'll take that any day of the week.
And
the problem is, though, it's a one-game playoff. I mean, if I'm a Yankee fan, which I am, and we had to go to a one-game playoff, I'm not going to be – I can't feel comfortable because – in a one-gamer, anything can happen. I mean, we've seen crazier things before, so it doesn't matter if you have 100 wins or 1 win. A one-game playoff is a situation where you could very well see if Chris Sale gives up 2 in the first, you might see him taken out by the second. because you just can't take that risk.
Yeah,
he doesn't have his best stuff.
I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm just trying to be a realist right now, and what I'm saying is if we're in